Why I wrote the book. I spent 3 years as a yacht stewardess, and I think I can honestly say that they were, so far, the best 3 years of my life. I read in one of the recent magazines that came out with information about the book, they said it's a stewardess turned writer. And in actuality, what I really am is a wannabe writer turned yacht stewardess turned writer. Back in college, I was sort of on the law school route, and this really does apply to, I think, a lot of people that are considering coming into the industry. They find themselves in one of these positions where suddenly you get close to graduation, or you're contemplating going to college, or you're in the middle of college going, what am I doing here? I have no clue what I want to do in life. And I kind of went through that crisis stage of saying, why did I want to be an attorney? Why am I about ready to go to law school? This isn't what I want to do. Had a freak out, called my dad one day and said, Dad, I think I've changed my mind. I want to be a writer now. Which, going from an attorney to a writer, that's not something that really makes your parents very excited. So I started taking creative writing classes, and lo and behold, I found out that I was a really boring, generic person. I had nothing interesting to write about. So instead of taking the law school route, I decided that I needed to get out and sort of experience the world. I was studying modernist literature, so a lot of these authors writers' books that I was reading were, about traveling around the Côte d'Azur back in the 1920s, and it just all seemed so romantic. And I said, you know what, I haven't been able to study abroad during my time in college. I'm hitting the road. And I did that. Right after college, I went overseas for a year on a work visa and worked in London and Scotland and backpacked all over Europe. And when I got back, I write about this in the preface of my book, I was then telling my parents, okay, I'm going to get a real job. Watch, I'm applying to advertising firms, I'm doing that, and then secretly in the back, I'm online looking at any possible way that I could go and work and travel abroad again. When the phone rings one day, and a friend of mine from high school, Captain Carl Sputh, some of you may know, he's on Motor Yacht Starfire now. At one point, he was, I believe, the youngest yacht captain in North America. Came down here right out of high school. Always knew it's what he wanted to do. His dad had been in the industry, and he used to come home to visit us when I was in college and tell us all these amazing stories about how he was on this great big yacht traveling to the Mediterranean and down the Caribbean. He had famous people on board, and then he would tell me what he did each day. Take the jet skis out and run around, make sure they have enough fuel in them, and it just sounded like fun work as well. And the fact that he was making all this money and getting tips that he wasn't even really touching his salary, and next thing you know, the kids rolling with a new car and all this stuff, and the rest of us are in college going, what were we thinking? So he calls me up one day, says he has a stewardess position available on his yacht, and I said, all right, I'm going to do this. This is my opportunity to get back out and travel a little more and make some more money and maybe find something interesting to ultimately one day write about. Still saying I'm always going to write a book one day. I'm going to write a book. So I came down here, and it ends up that the job fell through. Carl had to hire somebody right away, couldn't wait for me. So I went through the process of what I'm writing about in the book, and 3 weeks later, after getting down here, the great crew agencies that I was working with, took the American Yacht Institute course, which totally was what threw me over into getting the job. I was down here for like 2.5 weeks. Nobody wanted to even interview me. I took that course and boom, landed a job on an amazing boat, amazing crew. Just ran into one of the crew members the other day. I hadn't seen him in 5 years. The beauty of the yachting industry, right? Standing out in front of this sports bar over here. And a friend of mine from, I don't name the boats that I worked on, but was standing right there and in town from Italy. So the beauty of the yachting industry. And anyhow, 3 wonderful years working. I worked on several different boats, and I ended up leaving the industry. A lot of people ask me this in interviews, so if the job was so great and the money was so great, why aren't you doing it anymore? Well, it was a medical condition, and I know they wrote that in one of the other yachting magazines, and I thought, oh gosh, when they say that and people read that, it's like they think, leprosy or cancer or what was it? So to set the record straight, it was a medical condition. It was a female reproductive thing, more information probably than people need, but it was something that required a lot of surgeries and ovarian cancer scares and things like that. So basically they said, look kid, you got to get out of the yachting industry, come home, have surgery, and you're not going back for at least another year. So I go back to Indianapolis, my hometown, landlocked Indiana, and I'm hanging out there I started working as a travel agent, and then I got a job as a tour director with a travel club, and ultimately kind of fell into the whole corporate route and got swept into it. And always in the back of my mind. I used to go on a Crew Unlimited's website like every 6 months and look to see what jobs were available just in case there was something I could go back to. But in the meantime, though, in all these jobs, and in fact, one of the things that really kind of threw it into the spotlight, a local magazine in Indianapolis did an article on me. A girl I worked with was a freelance writer for them, and she thought this yachting thing I did sounded so fascinating. So she writes this article, and next thing you know, I'm getting calls from people all over the city. I read the article. How do I do this? How do I get a job on a luxury yacht? I never knew this existed. Is that like cruise ships? Is that people don't even know this industry exists. It's like it's one of the best kept secrets in the world. Everybody knows about cruise ship jobs. We used to try to get those in college, where you sent away for the $70 package in the back of the newspaper, and they sent you something else and said, all right, you have to pay us $2,000 to get a job working on a cruise ship. The beauty of the yachting industry, you're not paying agents to place you. Anyhow, I helped a lot of people over the years get into this industry, and it finally dawned on me, why not make this the book that I write? And it really, ultimately, it wasn't the book that I set out to do. I was actually at that point working for a book publishing company, and I was reading manuscripts for them, and every manuscript that came across my desk really wasn't all that impressive, and I thought, you know what, I can do this. I can write this. I can write a book. And I actually set out to go after sort of the audience of that whole crisis that I had, what led me down into the yachting industry. And I came across this article in Time magazine, in the cover story, January 24th, 2005 issue. They named this generation that now people age 18 to 25, and I can attest as being a 32-year-old that it includes people in my range too, that nowadays they've kind of got their own separate life stage, that they're, as it says, between adolescence and adulthood, in which people stall for a few extra years, putting the iron cage of adult responsibility that constantly threatens to crash down on them. They're betwixt and between, you could call them twixters. And that was the group that I said, you know what, I want to write to those people. I want to write to those restless young people who now, because of the way our society is, we can afford to, we can switch jobs every so often. We can switch careers. We don't have to go and work for the same company for 25 years. And people want to take more time to explore career options and what they want to do. And more importantly, I think a lot more people are looking to be happy. And what better job can you do than one where you're getting paid to travel the world and rub elbows with rich and famous people and network and work with people from all over the world. I think it's the greatest job in the world. So, but I started to write a book about all types of work abroad opportunities, and I just kept finding myself coming back to yachting. Here I was trying to write about, well, you can go and teach English overseas, or you can go be a tour director, which is something else that I did for a while. And as I wrote about each thing, I thought, I've got to go with the yachting. I've got to actually make this book solely about yachting. And so, a lot of you have seen this quote by Mark Twain. This is kind of what, when I start off the book, where I'm kind of going with including the memoir portions of the book. I'm trying to write a how-to book, but I'm also trying to motivate and show young people that this is a fabulous industry, that it takes a big leap to move away from home and bring everything with you and come down where you're working alongside people from other countries, and you may never have been to their countries, and it's a little bit intimidating. But I'm trying to motivate people to realize that they can do it. And 20 years from now, as Mark Twain said, you're more disappointed by the things you didn't do than by the ones you did. So that is my audience for this book. People that want to travel the world. People on a quest to make and save great money while also living life to its fullest. People that seek a sense of adventure and accomplishment. A less conventional career path, but a career path nonetheless. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't think through. When I first started writing the book, I was talking to people in this target audience that I was going after, and I was saying, what would prevent you from going off and doing something like this? And the number one thing was, well, what am I going to do after that? I mean, especially with stewardesses. I think with deckhands, it's like you see the route to captainhood down the line. Or as an assistant engineer, you see the big salary at the end of the road, where you have a real career path to follow. And yacht stewardesses too. I mean, I know girls that have been doing this for 12, 15, 20 years, and some of them making $80,000 plus tips a year, and who could blame them for sticking with it? But eventually people like to settle down, have kids, start a family. Life, vagabonding around the world is not necessarily an easy life. So I just finished an article that'll be coming out next month in the Crew Report, though, about careers in the marine industry. And this DVD, everyone should check out on your way out. Workforce One put this together with Marine Industries Association of South Florida. Kristen was a big part of this fabulous DVD. If you're in the industry now, I'm telling you, watch this, because you'll be so impressed about all the opportunities that exist right around you, especially if you're on yachts right now and you're kind of looking for that, all right, I'm going to do the move ashore thing. So many wonderful career path ideas included in, everything from working in shipyards and marinas to education, provisioning, excellent DVD. And this is where this article that I just wrote, careers after yachting. I think for yacht stewardesses, this really can be a long-term career. Whether you get the experience on board and then parlay it into being a broker or a placement agent, or even an events planner or a personal assistant. I mean, how many people know people that have worked on yachts and then suddenly they're working in their owner's home as an estate manager, or in the owner's company, not even related to yachting. It's another thing that I have to convince a lot of these people when they come down to do this career, that, hey, you're not necessarily taking a break from reality. This really can be, I have a girl that just came down from Denver. She has an interior decorating background. Go do 3 or 4 years on boats and then go back to school and learn how to apply it to interior yacht decorating. Obviously, this is a great career path for anybody in hospitality, or people that think they'd be good at hospitality. I tell all people that come to me and say, how can I get started? What's something I can do now? I'm graduating next year. I tell them, go get a job waiting tables, or go get a customer service position. Go get a job as a front desk person at a hotel. And then for guys, too, it's if you have a mechanics background, a painting go paint houses for the summer. All these things are going to help you to really polish your skills that would transfer wonderfully into any entry-level crew position. Obviously, people that have a passion for the sea, and like I said, people that really want to expand their horizons. As I say in the book, page 10, becoming a crew member on a luxury yacht is not only a career move that can grow your bank account, it can enlarge your worldview as well. It's about travel, it's about providing service, it's about stepping outside of your comfort zone to become more knowledgeable about the world, its customs, and its diverse people. There we go.